Example number 3. Cos x equals x squared. There's a number of questions in the IB curriculum, and also when you next year are taking grade 12 IB and you're getting ready for your exam, which would be beginning of May. You'll be done math by May 5th or May 6th. Part of what they have on the exam is some questions that the only way you can solve them is using your graphing calculator. And this is one of those kind of questions. So we've got cos x equals to x squared. There is no way that you can get x all by itself. If you think of this question, whenever you had an x squared question, you would like to get the x by itself in either square root, or maybe you would make one side equal to 0 and factor it. But if we tried to make one side equal to 0 here, any idea how to factor with a cos and an x? No. No idea whatsoever. So what do we have to do? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to solve this with our graphing calculator. We're going to take one side of the equation, which is cos x, and we're going to type that into our y1, and we're going to take the other side of the equation, which is x squared, and type that into y2. What's that going to look like? Well, we're going to find out. So let's clear any other graphs that we had from before. In our one graph, we're going to type in x squared. I'm going to change this back to a solid line. There we go. And in our second equation, we're going to type cos of x. We're going to make sure that our mode, we're in radians right now. And one thing to see sine and cos quite nicely as far as graphing goes, hit your zoom button. Now your window is normally set to standard, so we're just going to first look at what does this look like on a standard window. There's our parabola like we would expect. And there's our cos graph like we'd expect. That's a nice window to start. Sometimes when dealing with equations that are trig equations, under the zoom menu, number 7 is zoom trig. If you do that, it will automatically go from negative 2 pi to 2 pi. So that also might be really nice as a graph. Looking at this, can you see that the red graph and the blue graph intersect in 2 places? And where those places that they intersect, the red graph and the blue graph are equal. So if we can find out where they intersect, and that's as easy as going second, calculate number 5 to the intersection, go closer to one of them, push enter, it jumps to the other curve, push enter. It asks you to guess. Oh, I thought it was going to be over here. No. So there's one solution. So we can drag that over here, make it a little smaller. One solution is when x is equal to negative 0.82. Now we're solving for x. We're not solving for y. So we would want one of our solutions approximately, because I'm rounding, negative 0.824. Round to the nearest hundredth. Oh, easy. Take off the 4. Negative 0.82. To find the other one, same idea. Second, calculate number 5, the intersection. This time we're going to move our cursor closer to the other one that we want to find. Push enter 3 times. And it's positive 0.82. Isn't that nice? So that's how we can solve a question like this, typing one equation into one, another one into the other. What would happen, I mean, here at the start I made it equal to 0, and I got x squared minus cos x. My question is, if I had typed that in, clear, clear, and I typed in x squared minus cos x, could I still get the answer? Because now there's only one graph showing. Could I still get the answer from this one? There's only a parabola there. I'm going to go second, calculate. I'm going to find out where the x-intercepts of this are. So let's go from -2 to 0. Find out x-intercepts there. Negative 0.824. Why did that work? And the other x-intercept, I'll tell you, is positive 0.824. Well, another strategy that you can sometimes use is if you make something equal to 0, and you type this side into y1, you are trying to find out where this graph that I just graphed here is equal to 0. What are those called when you make y equal to 0? X-intercepts. So if you make one side of your equation equal to 0 and graph everything else, then all you have to do is try to find your x-intercepts. So there's two strategies here. You could type 1 into y1, 1 into y2, and find out where they intersect. Or we can move everything over to one side and make it equal to 0. Then we're just having to type one equation in and find the x-intercepts. I think your textbook tends to try to find, no, this time they plugged them. Sometimes they'll make it equal to 0. I find more often in grade 11 they did that. And then you found your x-intercepts. Sometimes they're going to get you to graph them both and find the intersection point. So on your provincial exam, these kind of questions don't come up very often because they want the provincial exam to be able to be solved without a graphing calculator as well. So if you wanted to do the whole exam with a scientific calculator, you shouldn't be at too much of a disadvantage over people that have a graphing calculator. So in that case, this kind of question won't appear on your provincial exam, but next year on your IB exam, they're going to get these kind of questions, so we need to be prepared for them. So one that you can do to practice is number 7.